Yesterday I began a series, a presentation on a book that was written by Srila Prabhupada in 1962. In 1962, he had just begun his Vanaprastha stage of life, one of the thinnest population ashrams out of the four. Brahmachari, also few, but lots of grahastas, almost hardly any vanaprasthas, and sannyas. I was just listening to a class today where the speaker was encouraging that one shouldn't just continue grahastha life till the end of life. There's 2 more ashrams coming. And sometimes persons go directly from family life to sannyas life, but there's another substantial ashram. In any case, Prabhupada, for various reasons, when his sons were of age to look after the family business and through that method maintain his wife and their families, he left for his Vanaprastha stage of life. And 2 years after that happened, he was living in a temple, and not in a temple, in a home where there was a deity, large home with a wealthy family's home near Keshigat in Vrindavan. Have you been to Vrindavan? No? You know where it is on the map? You know where Delhi is on the map? No? You have an idea. Where is Delhi on the map? The nation's capital in India is Delhi, right? It's in north, kind of central, northwest part of India, north. And Vrindavan is just a short distance away. Short distance means about 3 hours by taxi, because we just came from Vrindavan. A sacred place where Krishna was born and had his childhood pastimes with Balaram and the cowherd boys. So Keshigat, Keshi is one of the demons sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. Big horse, giant horse. And where Krishna killed Keshi, there's Keshigat. So near Keshigat, run along the bank of the river Jamuna, there's a Vangshi Gopal temple. And Prabhupada stayed in a small room, which is where he wrote this book. So we had a little history of how the book became composed and was never published until 23 years later. 1985, the book was published in Hong Kong, in Chinese. But it was an event that never fully fructified, but there was a spirit behind the writing of the book that displayed Prabhupada's expertise in writing. Little something I wanted to mention from yesterday. During Prabhupada's householder days, he was already recognized by Bhaktisiddhanta as a very accomplished writer. He had written some things. One of them was a very brilliant Vyasa Puja offering. Very deep, very profound, very thought-provoking. So much appreciated by Bhaktisiddhanta that he told his editors, whatever Abhay, because that was his name, Abhay Charan, whenever he writes, publish it. He was gifted in his writing, and that was in English. And prior to that, and just before Bhaktisiddhanta's departure, he had requested Prabhupada to take his writing skill and his other gifts that Krishna had given him, go to the West, go to the English-speaking parts of the world, and present Krishna consciousness. Leave India and go present the teachings of Krishna consciousness. So in 1866, Prabhupada accepted sannyas from one of his godbrothers, Keshava Maharaj, in Mathura. And this book was to be published in 1962 for the purpose of an event that Prabhupada couldn't attend because he didn't have the airfare to get there. But he wrote the book. And this is about the book. The book covers chapter 20 of the 10th canto Bhagavatam. Chapter 20 is describing the activities of Krishna and the cowherd boys during the rainy season, and then following that, the autumn season. There's, in the West, where we have 4 seasons, in India there's 6. So this evening is a focus on the rainy season and different features of the rainy season, including at the end there's a little video. It's very nice. It's a description by one of our Vaishnava acharyas named Kavi Karnapur, describing the autumn season, the rainy season, and then the autumn season. Same, it's just his poetic writing describing what's in the Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 20. So that's where we are. On the screen you'll see it's an illustration that's right from the internet. I'm inspired by the artistry. The text reads, "The rainy season personified has a name." The rainy season personified, everything in the spiritual realm has a person, or is a person. Just like the God is a person. God is a force, a power, an entity, an existence, an all-pervasive existence, but it is ultimately a person. So the rainy season personified, she has a name. Her name is Barhi. Literally, Barhi means the rain which descends upon Braja and gives relief to all the Brajvasis. And one of her identifying marks is in her left hand, she holds a chatak bird. So maybe many of you may know, Vrinda Devi also holds a chatak bird. Who is Vrinda Devi? You know who is Vrinda Devi? Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesavasya. The expansion, Vrinda Devi is in the spiritual realm, and her expansion in this realm is Tulsi Devi. So Vrinda Devi, according to the explanation given by our acharyas, Vrinda Devi is Krishna's Leela Shakti. What's Krishna's Leela Shakti mean? There's there's the Supreme Person has unlimited potencies. Parasya Shaktir Vivadaiva Shruyate, unlimited potencies. Bhagavan has unlimited potencies. And one of those potencies is his potency of pastimes, Leela Shakti. And she has a name, Vrinda Devi. And Vrinda Devi, we'll see some pictures of Vrinda Devi shortly. We visited Vrindakund in Vrindavan. Everyone's distracted by something. What's going on over here? What? No, you don't need to officiate. It just these two kids are looking at something over here. I'm speaking, there's something on the screen, and they're attracted by something over there, whatever that something over there is. So there's some nice stories. You're going to like, there's some nice stories. So especially when you connect the images with the stories, there'll be an impression in your mind. So as you go along with your life, you'll carry some impressions of who is Krishna, or who are some of Krishna's potencies. So Vrinda Devi is one of Krishna's potencies personified. Vrinda Devi is Krishna's Leela Shakti. Shakti means potency. Yes? Shakti means potency. And Leela Shakti is the potency of his Leelas, Krishna's pastimes. And Vrinda Devi organizes. She's the CEO. She's in charge of Krishna's pastimes. She's one of his potencies. She only does what he wants, but she organizes all of Krishna's pastimes. And Vrinda Devi holds in her left hand a parrot. And her cousin sister, Barhi, carries in her left hand not a parrot, but a chatak bird. You've heard of chatak birds before? Never heard of it before. There's a certain kind of bird that will not drink water except when water falls from the sky in the form of rain. I don't know what they do in the snow. They probably take that water too. But that's their only source of water, chatak birds. So chatak birds are very celebrated in poetry, because sometimes the chatak bird is referred to poetically as a person who only receives mercy from Krishna. The chatak bird will make the chatak bird sound, but will remain thirsty other than the descending rain of mercy that comes from Krishna. It's a poetic image. But there is such a bird, a chatak bird. I'll show you a picture shortly of a chatak bird. They're real birds. They exist. So Barhi holds a chatak bird in her left hand. So you'll see shortly a painting of Barhi. And Vrinda, who is Krishna's Leela Shakti, she organizes Krishna's pastimes. There's a flow or a sequence of pastimes. So when the summer season is to end and the rainy season is to come, Vrinda Devi calls her cousin sister, to Barhi, to come. It's time for a change, a shift in the flow of Krishna's pastimes. So she comes. And she's described as having garments that are pink in color, and she has a long braid that reaches down to her feet. And in the poetry of Kavi Karnapur, she creates and walks in windy and moist air. Poetic. She creates and walks in windy and moist air. So based upon this description, I requested Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj if he knew any artists that could paint a painting of Barhi. So he agreed. It took about a month, back and forth a bit, and there she is. Barhi is an inhabitant of Vrindavan who plays a very intimate role in Krishna's pastimes. Again, she's cousin sister of Vrinda, and she comes when Vrinda requests her to come. She is the rainy season personified. Let's see. I meant to bring something with me that I printed, but we'll have to do it this way. There's a prayer to Barhi, or rainy season personified, that the Brijbasis offer, because when she comes, it brings relief from the scorching heat of the summer. And their respects go to Barhi, who enters Vrindavan by the order of Vrinda Devi and who accepts the service of pleasing the divine couple. Here's a photograph of a chatak bird. And Vrinda Devi, who is the cousin sister, this is a deity of Vrinda Devi. Notice the green parrot. The green parrot has a name. Green parrot's name is Daksha. We heard about this when we were in Vrindavan. Every morning, in the Brahma Muhurta hour, which means even before the sun rises, 2 muhurtas before the sun rises, 96 minutes before the sun rises, Vrinda Devi meets with the Yoga Maya personified, or Purnamasi, and they make a plan for Krishna's pastimes. And then Vrinda Devi organizes it, and one of the ways that she organizes it is she instructs her chief parrot, the parrot's name is Daksha. You know the meaning of Daksha? Daksha? Daksha means expert. Daksha means expert. This parrot is expert. That's the parrot's name, Daksha. The parrot has 100,000 fleet of parrots. They didn't have an SMS, text message, Google groups, didn't have that method of sending out messages. But when there was a plan for Krishna's pastimes, a series of parrots would go all over Vrindavan to help assemble and deliver messages of how the pastime should be enacted. They're just assisting, messengers assisting Vrinda Devi. So Vrinda Devi has this green parrot in her left hand. There you see a nice painting. And here's another nice painting of Vrinda Devi. So when the rainy season comes, it's a big relief from the scorching heat of the summer. So the rain and that circumstance is very welcome. Here's a nice painting where Vrinda, pictured in the lower right here, she's getting ready to call her cousin sister Barhi to come and terminate the scorching heat of the summer. There she is, Barhi. She pleases Radha and Krishna by cooling the temperature, but also cooling their burning desire to meet together. Because when it's rainy season, people don't like going out and about. Sadhus even will stay in one place for 4 months of the rainy season because it's unpleasant to be out and about. So that's good for Radha and Krishna, because then Radha and Krishna can go out and about, find some secluded place to meet, and no one will even notice. So it's very nice service that she renders. And it's a nice season for Radha and Krishna, the rainy season. There's a prayer that Radharani offers in the monsoon season, appreciating the monsoon season. Because in the monsoon season, after things have dried up from the summer, the creepers and vines and flowers on the trees and the flowers in gardens, they're blossoming like anything. And Radharani's circumstance is she's restricted by Jatila and Katila and Abhimanyu from meeting Krishna. So she is offering a nice prayer through the rainy season. Oh, my true friends, the creepers and vines of this forest who hide me from my in-laws, and oh, my golden kadamba flowers who disguise me and keep my in-laws from seeing me, and my best of friends, the forest of Vrindavan, I offer my gratitude to all of you. Again, Kavi Karnapur. So who's Kavi Karnapur? Anyone here know who is Kavi Karnapur? You've heard his name before? Anyone? Kavi Karnapur? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a description of one of Lord Chaitanya's dear, dear associates who had come with when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was young and growing up, he lived in Navadvip, which is northwest of Calcutta. When he accepted sannyas, he was planning to go to Vrindavan. Going to Vrindavan means here's Calcutta and Vrindavan is over here. Exactly, up a little bit. So his mother requested, please don't go to Vrindavan, because I may never hear of you again. But if you go to Jagannath Puri, which is south along the sea, then the devotees from Puri, devotees from our town, every year they go to see Lord Jagannath at Rath Yatra time. And when they go to see Jagannath at Rath Yatra time, they'll meet with you. And when they meet with you, they can bring back news, because otherwise they may not even hear of you. And who knows, maybe sometimes you'll want to come take bath in the Ganga, and so I'll get to see you again. So please go to Puri. Don't go to Vrindavan. That's my one request. So Lord Chaitanya went to Puri instead of Vrindavan. And every year the devotees from Navadvip would go south. Long, long overland journey. Took almost a month to get to Puri. And then they stayed in Puri for Rath Yatra. And then after Rath Yatra, the rainy season. And after the rainy season, they would then go back to Navadvip. So one of those persons had a son who Lord Chaitanya blessed in a number of ways, skipping some of those details, and he became known as Karnapur. Lord Chaitanya gave him the name. And later that Karnapur became Kavi Karnapur. Kavi means learned poet. So Kavi Karnapur wrote books about Krishna, and he wrote some very interesting books. One of the books he wrote was a book about all of the associates of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes had their spiritual counterpart in Krishna's pastimes. Like many of us know, in Krishna's pastimes, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna himself. And Lord Nityananda in Krishna's pastimes is who? Balaram. And Advaita Acharya, we're going through the Panchatattva. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda. Next is Advaita Acharya. So in Advaita Acharya, in Krishna's entourage is Mahavishnu. Then Gadadhar. Who is Gadadhar in Krishna's pastimes? Radharani. And the last one, Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda, Srivas, who's Srivas in Krishna's pastimes, Narada Muni. So in this way, Kavi Karnapur wrote a book that all of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are they in Krishna's pastimes? Like, for example, the six Goswamis. You know, one of our most prominent of the six Goswamis is Rupa Goswami. So he's in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Who is Rupa Goswami in Krishna's pastimes? Rupa Manjari. Who is Rupa Manjari? Rupa Manjari is a very intimate associate, a Manjari assistant of Lalita. Lalita in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is Swarup Damodar. And then there's Vishakha, the two most intimate associates of Radharani, Lalita and Vishakha. So Vishakha in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is Ramananda Roy. And Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar were constant associates of Lord Chaitanya in his pastimes in Vrindavan. You follow? And everybody, long, long list, have their spiritual counterpart in Krishna's pastimes, and that's one of Kavi Karnapur's books. He had profound, intimate realizations about Lord Chaitanya and his pastimes. So one of his books is describing Vrindavan. Ananda Vrindavan Champu is the title of the book, but it's describing Vrindavan. And part of that description, describing Vrindavan, corresponds with the rainy season. So I'm going to read a little section from his writings. When the rainy season comes, which is very much welcome by Radha and Krishna, because then they have an opportunity, people aren't out and about, they can go in private and meet in some secluded place and not be disturbed. When Krishna sees Radharani in the poetry of Kavi Karnapur, at the beginning of the rainy season, he sees her walking through moist and windy air. Remember, Barhi is very creative, and she moves through moist and windy air. So also Radharani is moving through that moist and windy air of the rainy season, or Barhi. And there's garlands that Radharani is wearing that come from the Kadamba trees. Kadamba trees produce Kadamba flowers. And Radharani wears Kadamba flower garlands, and they're very, very fragrant. So Krishna sees Radharani moving about like this in the rainy season. He sees, this is the language of Kavi Karnapur, swarms of bumblebees darting through the air, impelled by Radharani's provocative glances cast upon Krishna. She wears effulgent, attractive blue garments in the form of freshly glistening rain clouds, while the gentle rumbling of those rain clouds fills the forest with the sweet sound of her elegant voice. It's poetry using images that compare to her personality and her features, her beauty. She offers newly sprouted barley grass as a place for Krishna to sit, this colorful green sitting place of fresh grass defeats the beauty of a collection of the brightest green emeralds. And we're going to see a painting that someone is going to narrate. The video at the end is Shruti Russell narrating with some music in the background, all of this description of the rainy season from Kavi Karnapur. There's a kind of insect in India known as an Indragopa. There's a verse in Brahma Samhita. Yastvindra matavindra mahosva karma bandhanurupa palabhajanam atunoti. You know the verse? Karmani nirdahita kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. It's mentioned there's Indra and there's Indragopa. Indra is a big demigod. He's the king of the demigods. And these little red insects, we'll see a painting that has a picture of these little red insects. There's many little red insects called Indragopas. So those Indragopas are covering the floor where Radharani walks, as if the red on the bottom of her feet is coming from the Indragopa insects. The millions of Indragopas color the delicate feet of Radharani with an effulgent red lac or color. A row of splendid restless cranes adorns her throat like a pearl necklace, and fanned tails of dancing peacocks comprise her beautiful hair. So it's poetic imagery of Karvi Karnapur describing the rainy season. Here's a nice painting of Krishna holding a flute. In many cases, Krishna is depicted as blackish, but it is said he's not exactly blackish, he's kind of bluish-blackish, not exactly like the painting you see here. There's a particular flower Bhakti Siddhanta identifies as a atasi flower. Sometimes in our Acharya's writings, they use this phrase, the atasi flower. That's the color of Krishna. Here's something straight from the internet. This is what a close-up of an atasi flower. And since I'm going to be presenting this for the Chinese devotees, they have a similar flower in China. There's the atasi flower in China. So that's Krishna's color. It's not exactly bluish-blackish either. Technically, in most of the Vedic reference books, is called Megha Varna. Varna means just like Chatur Varna Maya Shrishtam. Varna means occupation, but it also means color. Megha Varna. So it's the color of dark rain cloud filled with water. The color of rain clouds get darker and darker and darker because it's thick. And really, really thick when it's just about to drop the rain. So the rainy season, the clouds in the sky look like this. There's a very nice poetic description by one of our acharyas, Baladev Vidyabhusan, in one of his writings. Here's the Sanskrit. He writes, without a doubt, Achyuta, that's one of Krishna's names, is dark-hued because the dark-eyed, beautiful gopis cast their sidelong glances upon him. Poetic. I mean, his blackish because the eyes of the gopis glance at him. Generally, that's not why somebody becomes of a certain color, because somebody looks at them. But he's reciprocating with their love. And the gopis, on the other hand, are certainly golden-hued due to constantly meditating upon his golden-hued garment. And I added one more photograph, which is Kusum Sarovar during the rainy season. You see the rainy clouds up in the sky, and down below is the lake, the Sarovar, and the nice architecture. This is a nice place by the side of Govardhan Hill. It's a very celebrated architectural wonder. Very beautiful. Here's the 4 months that make up the rainy season. Shravana, Bhadra, Asvini or Asvina, and Kartik. We just finished Kartik, so the 4 months of the rainy season are over at that time. Now remember, why am I describing this? This is the context of light of the Bhagavat. Some of you came in a little bit later. For the remaining classes that I have in the evenings, at least here in Palatine, I'll start discussing 5 verses at a time, verses taken from this Light of the Bhagavat. Light of the Bhagavat was written by Srila Prabhupada. His first book was a text that was meant to be presented at a conference in Japan before Prabhupada accepted sannyas, while he was still in a vanaprastha stage, living in Vrindavan in this little small room. He received a pamphlet which was sent out by the organizer of a conference for the enhancement of human spirit. It was a nice idea. I mentioned this yesterday. There was a period in world history, it was after World War II, and there was some amount of healing that was going on from nations, and other nations combating with other nations till they were finished. So then there was this kind of healing of that wound, and a very strong attempt amongst intellectuals and leaders in the world to bring harmony in the world. It's like when the United Nations was formed. Same thing happened after World War I with League of Nations. It was meant to bringing people together to be more harmonious with one another. That was the intent of this conference. Since it was being held in Japan, Prabhupada had the insight to appreciate that people from Eastern Asia, there's a tendency to look to nature and learn lessons of life from nature. Just today, I received and responded to a letter from a girl that's maybe about 25, 30 years of age in China. And she described when she grew up a certain province in China, that there's a type of worship that they do. It's indigenous to their region, where they worship nature. They worship nature. They worship the hills. They worship the trees. They worship rocks. They have rituals that they do traditionally for honoring nature and seeing divinity or divine spirit within things within nature. So not just Japan, it's people from that part of the world have a way of have deeper affinity for and appreciation for nature, and seeing things and painting things and enacting things and envisioning things in terms of nature. So Prabhupada knew that about the people in the Far East, and so he chose chapter 20, which is from Canto 10, Bhagavatam. It's in the childhood portion of Krishna's pastimes, and the summer had just passed, and chapter 20 begins, the rainy season begins. So you'll hear, starting tomorrow, how he does what he does. Takes verses from that chapter, recites the verses in a rephrased fashion, and then gives a few paragraphs, like commentary, to lessons about life to be learned from nature. It's brilliant. And it's very beautiful. The illustrations are very beautiful. So here's that same image we started with. tinted a little bit differently. And following that hot summer is the rainy season. And as soon as the rainy season clears, then comes the autumn season. And so those are the two descriptions found in this chapter. So here's a little rendering. It's nicely done of some of this section from Kavi Karnapur's writings. We have this microphone.
Every morning during the rainy season, Krishna remains inside with his parents, and the cows stay in the Goshala until the rain stops. And Krishna reciprocates with his parents by allowing them to cuddle and caress him. However, as soon as the sky clears, he runs to collect the cows and proceeds to the forest, along with Balaram and the other boys. During the rainy season, the peaceful green fields look charming under the deeply blue, cloudy sky. It seems as if the sun has retreated to a distant place and fallen asleep. All the miseries of the hot summer season have disappeared. Krishna and the boys see the beauty of the forest as if personifying the goddess of the rainy season. The fresh, dark, rain-filled clouds were her effulgent blue garments, and the calling of splendid restless cranes adorned her throat as a pearl necklace. The iridescent fanned tails of the dancing peacocks were like her beautiful hair. The rumbling of the clouds filled the forest with the sound of her delightful voice. The fragrant earth, laden with scent of flowers, was her breath. In the form of tiny raindrops, her gentle face was moistened with tears as she waited eagerly to present Krishna with fragrant garlands made from the tiny malati flowers from her dangling creepers. Millions of Indragopas, or tiny little red insects, crawled all over the ground, and they were the red pigment that colored her delicate feet. Thus, the goddess of the rainy season pleased the entire world with her beauty and her sweetness. Overflowing with affection, she desired to serve Krishna in every possible way. Just as one gets relief from the scorching heat of the summer by taking the proper medicine, the Vrajavasis were delighted with the appearance of the refreshing rainy season. They felt that time, in the form of a magnanimous physician, had awarded them with the wealth of the rainy season. This season brought supreme satisfaction to the playful prince of Vraj. During this time, the cows ambled lazily along, sometimes lounging under the shady trees, while Krishna beautified the scene by sitting nearby on the root of a tree and singing a wonderful song. The cows looked lovingly at Krishna while munching the plentiful grass, becoming fully satisfied, eating the lush foliage as they moved very slowly. They walked peacefully here and there without any disturbance, while the constant swinging of their tails created a marvelous scene of pure, effulgent beauty. Upon filling their bellies, the cows lost all desire to eat, and they rested amidst the soft, cooling grass and slowly chewed their cud. Turning their gentle faces towards Krishna, they glanced at him with love and gratitude, and Krishna took great delight in seeing them. As the cows rested, Krishna and his friends absorbed themselves in playing ball with the Kadamba buds of the Kadamba trees. Meanwhile, exhilarated with joy, the clouds raced across the sky and broke into small pieces and gradually disappeared. Due to the increasing heat of the day, attractive pearl-like drops of perspiration formed on Krishna's lotus face. Although tired from playing, Krishna looked radiantly beautiful. On one auspicious occasion during the rainy season, the cows were grazing on the fresh, green grass growing in the beautiful valley beside Govardhan. Krishna sat on a throne made of smooth stones next to a waterfall flowing with fragrant water from the top of Govardhan Hill. Enjoying the atmosphere, he laughed and joked with his friends, who played a game using some small dark crystal stones. Then the boys began to push and shove each other, when suddenly a lightning bolt struck from the clouds above. It was as if the clouds cast an angry frown just to stop the boys from fighting. Becoming frightened, the boys ran away. But once regaining their courage, they returned. Again, the clouds loudly thundered once more. And once more, the boys ran away. Grabbing some branches and creepers from the trees, they waved them wildly in retaliation, pretending to beat the clouds. The clouds responded by drenching them with a quick downpour. When it rained, Krishna took shelter in the caves of Govardhan, sitting there, waiting for the rain to stop, biding his time. He looked like a beautiful baby elephant. The boys entertained this charming, enchanting person by playing games of shouting loudly into the caves and laughing at the echoes that reflected back with deep, angry sounds. They said, "Who are you? Who are you?" An echo returned, saying, "Who are you?" And suddenly the cave filled up with great clamor. Ordinarily, it is not very good to mistreat a giver of shelter. However, this irreverent behavior did not fault the boys, but it allowed them to please Krishna. Indeed, they blessed those caves with their presence. At such times, the joyful boys would paint designs on Krishna's face and body with colored mineral powders, and they would surround him and happily dance for his pleasure, while Krishna floated on a river of happiness. A rich fragrance of musk saturated the entire atmosphere. During the rainy season, Govardhan Hill is full of incredible beauty, with many sorts of fresh fruits and edible roots. Magically, Vrindavan simultaneously encompasses all the seasons at the same time, and hence always provides the opulence of all the varieties of fruits and flowers. Nevertheless, when the dates or other jungle fruits ripen, those fruits are especially abundant. Krishna relished the taste of all the items brought by his friends, whose hearts surcharged with happiness. In this way, Krishna enjoyed his pastimes on Govardhan Hill. Meanwhile, outside the cave, it appeared that the rain smiled with teeth of hailstones, falling everywhere. Krishna's young friends ran outside to pick up all the particles of ice and bring them back into the cave. With hands folded in Pushpanjali, they offered the hailstones as flowers to Krishna's lotus feet. When the rain stopped, the boys left the cave and ran to the top of Govardhan Hill, where Krishna sat peacefully on a beautiful emerald rock that glittered brightly, having just been washed by the rain. His friends fanned him with pure white chamomile flowers, filling the air with the fragrance of musk. Enchanting tunes and melodies echoed throughout the forest as Krishna played his flute, then twirling the edge of his yellow cloth, while admiring the remarkable combination of sky and land and forest. Glancing around, Krishna called his cows, "Hey, Hamsi! Oh, Harini! Oh, Vamsi!" Mooing in response to hearing their names, the cows came running across the valley to stand close to Krishna. Due to the heavy weight of their udders, they moved in a crooked manner. And yet, as they got closer to Krishna, they galloped all the more quickly and trampled the grass under their hooves. Crying and mooing, the cows assembled around Krishna, and he addressed them to not stay any longer. The cows respected the Lord's order, and they immediately proceeded to the valley. As Krishna walked home, it seemed as though he stole the minds of the various birds and beasts. They could not go with him throughout the rainy season. But now, all these forest dwellers accompanied Krishna and his cowherd boyfriends as they enjoyed various fun-filled pastimes along with the wonderful cows of Vrindavan. With great anticipation, the Vrajavasis awaited the return of Krishna and the cows. First, they saw dust in the distance, created by the hoofs of the cows. Then, they heard the cows bellowing. Next, they saw the gopas coming in front of the herd. And finally, they beheld the bright blue effulgence of the jewel-like prince of Raja. Overwhelmed with desire to lick their calves, the cows tried to run, but the heavy weight of their milk bags checked their forward movement. Upon hearing Krishna's flute, the cows produced a pleasing sound as they entered Vrindavan. The entire city had been bathed in the rainy season's showers. Now, after the rain, the proud peacocks, famous for their dancing ability, strutted about on the rooftops of every home with their long, thick green tails fanned out to dry in the sun. A splendid flag flying throughout the city like tender green leaves indicated the intense joy felt by the residents of Vrindavan watching Krishna's return. The heavy downpour produced mud puddles that were lying here and there, and the water mixed with sandalwood and rushed through the city to bathe the feet of Krishna and the cows as they returned. Entering the palace, Krishna sat down to eat a variety of palatable foods. After being lovingly fed by Mother Yashoda, he lay down to rest on a bed with sheets as white as powdered camphor. The sweet sound of buzzing bees hovering around filled Krishna's bedroom with a melodious sound. And thus, while enjoying the sweet fragrance of the aromatic herbs and dried flowers stuffed in his pillow, Krishna slowly fell asleep and passed the night.
That's it. Again, that's Kavi Karnapur drawing his poetic skills and directing them to the same subject matter of Canto 10, Chapter 20, the rainy season, and followed by the autumn season. And of course, Prabhupada was not just creating poetry to create an image, but lessons to be learned and applied in life in practical ways, because you'll hear as we go forward. There's an appeal that he makes in the purports to thoughtful individuals, intellectuals, leaders, spiritual seekers, to help direct society worldwide towards a vision of Vedic culture and the principles that Vedic culture embody, to bring about a natural harmony between man and nature, and ultimately the natural harmony between man and God. So it's very artistically and beautifully put together. I enjoyed spending time learning how Prabhupada had done what he was doing, and I think I'm going to enjoy presenting it and hearing it again and hearing it again and hearing it again. Very powerful. From something very simple, just features of nature. So that's coming attractions. To next class, we'll be starting with the first verse. The verse is what we'll cover 5 verses at a time. Let's see how far we get. Any discussion, or comments, or questions, anybody? Sure. Give it to her. Give her.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So in the recording, was the cloud that was speaking like a Barhi Devi, or?
Who's speaking is your question?
Yeah.
Well, it's Kavi Karnapur speaking. Kavi Karnapur is just narrating the scenes within that season. So he's an observer, narrating what he's seeing and experiencing as the rainy season comes, and what Krishna and the cowherd boys do, and what the peacocks do, and what the swans do, and what. So it's the voice is an observer, an artistic person's observance, and his painting of a picture through words. That's the voice. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I had a question in the Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya, the third line. Is it Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi or Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi?
Depends on whether you're a Vishnu Bhakti or a Krishna Bhakti. They're both right.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This is not a question, it's just a compliment for this wonderful video which you just ran. It was like the narration and the picturization, the way it was expressed, it was so mesmerizing, like as if it was a real feeling that someone is literally present then and observing in the mercy of the narration. So thank you for sharing this wonderful video and the narration.
Just a comment. The narrator is Shruti Russell, Mukunda's wife, and it was slower. Even so, I asked her, can you speed it up a little bit? Mm-hmm. So she cut out an extra 5 minutes just by speeding up the speed of the recording, and then the slides have to move according to the speed of the recording, and it still could have been a little faster, I think, in my opinion. but it's done. I suppose it could be read because this video that you just saw, it's going to be shown at least 2 more times. This coming weekend, when I go to Central New Jersey, I'm going to cover all. There's 12 parts. These 2 introductory plus then 10 parts of the actual book. And my guess is she could make it go faster. What do you think?
For me, I felt like it is just perfect because
Just perfect. Okay.
yeah, because the pitch and the way it is connecting with the slides at the pace, it was perfect.
This is a meditation. It's a poetic, visual, and audio, auditory meditation on Krishna in his, his moving about the way that he's doing, according to this narration. So,
Thank you for sharing that, Guru Maharaj.
okay, good. I'll pass it on to Shruti. She'll smile.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was trying to understand the context of Srila Prabhupada.
But before let me just say one other thing. This is going to be, eventually, it'll be in Chinese. So there's a devotee in China who, before they were devotee, they were a professional musician, a singer, and they've recorded the whole thing in Chinese with some traditional Chinese music in the background rather than the soft flute music that's, it's very soothing. And the whole presentation is going to be, as the book was first published, it was published in Chinese. But I'm going to have to wait till they can republish the book, because it's out of print. Go ahead.
Maharaj, can you please elaborate on that context where Srila Prabhupada was trying to send that article to the Japan?
Sure. This is yesterday's class. In January of 1962, Prabhupada received a pamphlet, not just a flyer, but a little pamphlet promoting this event. And he became inspired, although Bhaktisiddhanta had said go to the west, and Japan is to the east, not to the west. He thought, why not? This is an opportunity to present what my Guru Maharaj wanted to another audience, intellectual audience, a powerful, leaders of the world kind of people. And so he set himself to busy. This is from January. The event was in May. So he wrote a letter and he began composing the book. The letter was to the event organizer, expressing the importance of the conference that he was conducting and the significance of the Vedic perspective on this idea that he wanted to promote. And he requested, what all necessary paperwork so he could get a passport and visa. In a short period of time, the man wrote back with a nice, very complimentary letter that was essentially meant to help him get a passport and visa, saying he would cover the cost of his accommodation and his lodging or his foods. But that left Prabhupada to find his airfare. So Prabhupada wrote back, and it's a series of exchanges, which, Prabhupada, it was found along with the manuscript, but Prabhupada was asking the man to find an artist that would paint 50 paintings, and he gave details of what he wanted each of the 50 paintings to be. He had a vision for it. later, Tamal Krishna Maharaj took those words that Prabhupada had written to the organizer that didn't happen, and contacted celebrated a celebrity person, artist lady in China, to make the paintings. It became 48 instead of 50 paintings that she did, her original art. And he wanted the man to have these paintings blown up and have displays around the place, because it was going to be at more than one venue in Japan, a whole series of presentations. And he wanted him to publish the book and so forth and so on. So he wrote the book, and he got his sponsorship letter from Japan, but he couldn't get the airfare, and so he didn't go. But he had the vision expressed in the book. You'll see as we go forward. It's a global vision. He's using this forum of this event in Tokyo to present a global vision, and he as an inspirer or leader of that global vision, establishing Krishna consciousness in the world through the medium of the book and the paintings and the so forth. Okay, so it looks like we'll wait till tomorrow. You, whoever is available, can hear the first 5 verses. How are we doing with time? 7:45.
There's an online question.
Oh, there's an online question.
Maharaj, I also have one question. When can we hear the Chinese rendition of the same that we heard today in English?
You want to hear it? I'll give you the first few lines.
Okay.
So you get the music and the flavor. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to understand what she's saying anyways.
Yeah. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
But just hold on while I get it
Yeah. Oh,
before
thank
you go on to whatever the rest is. Hmm.
在日记的每个清晨，维什纳和他的父母服务出后，母牛们待在牛舍里，直到雨停下来。维什纳让父母拥抱爱抚他，以此来回应双亲。然而，天空一放晴，他就跑去赶着母群，也
What else?
Maharaj, the question is from Amara Devi Dasi, and the question is that just as the sweetness of a mother's love come close to the closest to the spiritual love in this material world is the love of a mother for her child. In a similar way, the sweetness of the satisfaction that the Vrajavasis are deriving around Krishna, is that comparable to anything in this material world?
Well, just flip it around. This is like that, that's like this. But it's not flip it around. Our experience may be compared to spiritual experience, and the spiritual experience is a spiritual experience. There's something here that's like that, not the other way around. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Something else?
One clarification. So,
Sure.
The paintings that were shown in the presentation, were they the exact same paintings that Prabhupada directed and they were made, or?
No.
No, okay.
The paintings start tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Now, there's 48 paintings that Tamal Krishna Maharaj had a lady paint. He was the art director. The vision was Prabhupada's words, and she was the instrument to create it. And according to Giridhari Swami, who was in Hong Kong for that whole year that this was going on, she would come once a month, show her, bring her portfolio and show what she had done. He would critique. Some things were selected, some things were modified, some things were redone to get what he wanted as the art director. And then it was published. Now, those are going to be shown starting tomorrow. And I also added a number of, just right from the internet, there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of traditional Chinese art on different topics. So I just selected ones that I liked and included it. So you'll see some of that tomorrow. And then the next day.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So I haven't identified, this is one from the original book, and these are ones from the internet. They're mixed. But generally speaking, the first message of each verse is the original art that this lady created. That was in the book that Tamal Krishna Maharaj published in China or in Hong Kong. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.